Hello, fellow fleet and mobility players. Daniel Bland, Fleet Mobility Today, or FMT. Good to see you again, even if virtually, right? Let's get started. ABLA, the Brazilian Association of Car Rental Companies, what do? They bring together vehicle rental companies all over Brazil. In addition to representing its members, ABLA's mission is to develop, promote, and strengthen the sector. And with me today to talk about vehicle rental in Brazil is the Vice President of the Board of Directors at ABLA, Paulo Miguel Jr. Hello, Paulo.
Hi, Daniel. I'm here ready to talk to your viewers about the vehicle rental sector.
Okay, thank you. I just have a few questions here, Paulo. The first is, what was the main headline in terms of short-term rental and long-term leasing of vehicles last year, 2024, and also what headline do you expect to see by the end of 2025?
Daniel, in 2024, the main headline was the rise in interest rates and the increase in car prices. This greatly impacted the rental sector with adjustments, let's say even severe, in rental prices. We came from a pre-pandemic period with much lower prices, and post-pandemic these prices have been rising a lot. Why? Vehicle rental is directly proportional to the price of the car. And when you have car prices rising and interest rates rising, rental prices go up. So, when renewing contracts, people are sometimes shocked by the renewal price. But that's part of it. When someone looks at the renewal and says they're going to switch to their own fleet and checks the car price, they effectively realize that the car is very expensive. And for 2025, we expect a slightly more pleasant scenario with a decrease in interest rates and stabilized car prices because prices have been rising month by month. Like everything else, inflation is high, interest rates are high, everything has been increasing month by month, and rental prices are no different. We have a kind of global impact from what's been happening around the world, and now it's a bit more turbulent. With the changes Trump is making in the United States, the tariff protections being implemented, this will directly influence the automotive market, not only in Brazil, but worldwide. Here in Brazil and around the world, we also have Chinese cars arriving at a much lower price than those produced nationally. This directly impacts the market. We can see how FADIA has been moving recently to explain this to the government.
The United States is far from Brazil, but it still impacts.
It still impacts. The price of steel being, with high tariffs spread around the world, this ends up becoming a total mess. And the consumer is the one who pays in the end when we have to set the price.
I think companies need to find some ways to save money elsewhere, maybe with taxes. I don't know. I have another question about the tax perspective. What is the best option for companies? The car rental, short-term car, maybe leasing, the long-term service.
Short-term car, maybe long-term leasing, or subscription service. Well, Daniel, long-term rental, fleet outsourcing, leasing. We say it's aimed at legal entities. When we talk about individuals, even to make a distinction, the market has adopted that long-term rental is called a subscription car. But it is just a nomenclature that the market uses. When we talk about individuals, just to make a distinction, the market has adopted the term subscription car for long-term rentals. But it is just a nomenclature that the market uses there. Both are long-term rentals. For businesses, we have a tax advantage in that when you rent the car, you benefit from the PIS and COFINS for tax compensation. So, you pay the rental and credit this tax to offset in your accounting. So, it's an advantage of renting. When we talk about individuals, if you calculate all the costs of how much you pay for monthly rental, and if you bought this car, paid all the taxes, fees, insurance, you see that, in the end, Comparing the same period, you see that the result you get with a rented car gives you a financial gain from it. I've seen cases of up to 20% gain in the entire account. So, it's a great advantage for both businesses and individuals. And the car, the daily rental, ends up being included for businesses with the same benefit. But what happens? Generally, these are more sporadic uses. Sometimes a company with a contracted fleet has an executive going to another place, an operator going somewhere else, and ends up renting this car. So it works, and before the pandemic, we saw growth in this service because people were using transportation services, shared transportation apps, or public transport during the week. And on the weekend, they rented cars to spend the weekend or for trips. So, it's a market that is developing. It is still very small in Brazil. If we look at companies that outsource their fleets in Brazil, it's between 20% and 25%. And when we compare it to the European market, we have a clearer level of comparison. There, between 60% and 70% of companies rent cars.
Yes, so you mentioned long-term leasing in the United States.
The operational conditions for leasing in Brazil are not as favorable as in the United States. I attended an event at the end of the year in the United States, and there are companies that operate leasing are going through a process of fleet outsourcing. And what's the difference between the two? With leasing, you take the car and all the expenses related to the car, you cover them. In fleet outsourcing, which is starting in the United States, some companies are already hiring, you hire the whole package. The car, maintenance, documentation, everything, you don't worry about anything. So, there are some changes happening in the market, and the American market is also moving towards this fleet outsourcing market.
I have a question about safety, because safety is important when you have to manage your fleet. How do rental and vehicle companies ensure the safety of the vehicles? And what can be done to strengthen driver safety in Brazil?
The advantage of using rental cars is that you always have updated cars. The rental company always prioritizes vehicle maintenance, so you have well-maintained cars, newer cars. Besides that, rental companies have been working hard with telemetry and training. The telemetry is not just basic telemetry, where you only see the car's position. If it's at high speed, but more specific telemetry, where you can check for sudden braking, high acceleration, vehicle inclination, where you can manage the driver much more effectively, because when we talk about safety, besides vehicle safety, we need driver safety. The driver needs to drive the vehicle well to ensure safety. So, rental companies have been working together with clients. Regarding this, sometimes providing training in economic driving, defensive driving for the driver, so that they have greater skill in operating the vehicle. And sometimes even using this telemetry program to create gamification, so that the best drivers receive some rewards, in addition to helping design fleet policies.
Yes, there are the two things you mentioned, technology through telemetry and also training. So, it's not just the cars, it's the people who also need to be responsible for safety.
Exactly.
I just have one more question, Paulo. I'm very curious to see, if you were a car, what type of car would you be? SUV? A pickup, maybe a luxury sedan, or an economical car, or a sports car? And why?
Well, since I'm in the rental sector, we really value being able to use the car you need at the moment you need it. Right? I'm a combination of all of them. One day I can be sporty, one day an SUV, a pickup. One week, another. It's great flexibility. I think that you, who know me a little, know that I live all these moments. So, I could be all these cars combined. according to the need.
Okay. That's all the questions. Very good, Paulo. I know you're very busy, but you make time for us, and also thank you to those who are watching here and to our viewers. It's always a pleasure to bring insights to you. Before we finish, I want to highlight that our Fleet and Mobility Management Club, also known as FMMC, which is an acronym in English, is the Fleet and Mobility Matters Club. There will be a meeting coming up next week, March 28th. The FMMC members from all over the Americas have already received an invitation. And remember to bring your good ideas, and see you soon. But before we go, I think, Paulo, do you have another event coming up as well? Would you like to talk a little about it?
We have now, on the 25th, the launch of the ABLA yearbook, our yearbook, which brings all the information about the rental sector in Brazil.
Yes, next week as well. Very good. So, I was in the United States too, like you guys, but now I'm going to Brazil. I think I'll go there too. So, I hope to see you at the ABLA event as well. Okay, thank you. See you later, everyone.
Fleet Mobility Today.